Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today we have the pleasure of watching Vino from the European server playing in a vehicle that you might have seen one or two of in your games over the last week. This is now the second most played tank in the game. It is the DBV-152. It is the latest assembly shop tank, the first tank destroyer that was inside the assembly shop, and now the most sold of the assembly shop tanks on the European server. All 100,000 sold out. So I was wrong. I genuinely thought that maybe Wargaming wouldn't sell 10, 20, 30,000 of the non-styles on this vehicle. And boy, was I wrong. And that's because I forget that the World of Tanks player base loves to sit and to snipe with comfortable turrets, right? I mean, how could I forget? You know, the Scorpion, the SU-130 PM. If you have even the Griller is popular at tier 10. If you have the opportunity to buy a fancy one of those, you know, people are going to step right up. So Wargaming really did know exactly how popular this tank was going to be. But unfortunately, for the player base at least, over the last week, the matchmaker has been absolutely horrendous with the amount of tank destroyers in. Now, I think this is definitely a short-term issue. I think a lot of people are still trying to get their field mods on this. They're trying to hunt for the ace. They're trying to hunt for that one epic game that they can hopefully get, like Vino is definitely going to have today, to scratch that itch and then probably to go back to not playing it like 20, 30 times a day. But as I said, this vehicle's now the second most played tank, and it's only taken a week in the last 30 days, and it's only taken a week. My word, this thing is popular with the player base. Interestingly enough, though, win ratio-wise, it's completely even, right in the middle, and its win ratio difference is actually the worst of any of the tier 10 tank destroyers. So it's not clearly overpowered. Well, it clearly isn't overpowered, is what the phrasing that I should have had. But the issue is that, boy, this thing with its 800 alpha and how reliably and how flexibly it can deliver it to you, it is ruining a lot of people's fun. But you know what? I think eventually it will calm down. It's going to be a very tricky thing for Wargaming, because I think it was important that they released a tank destroyer in the assembly shop. You know, we've had 3 heavies and 1 medium, I believe, so far in the assembly shop. Or is it 4 heavies and a medium? Okay, in order, we had the Object 780, then we had the Kampfpanzer, then did we have the Lion? Oh, we've had 2 mediums, that's why I'm forgetting. So yeah, we had 5 vehicles. We had 3 heavies, 2 mediums, and so it's about time that we had a tank destroyer going into the mix and not another heavy vehicle. So I think that it gets a thumbs up from me, and a lot of people like the tank destroyer role. It's just, unfortunately, when the whole of the teams are played by very high alpha, accurate tank destroyers that have turrets as well, boy, can it be a little bit awkward when there's about 5 of these on either side. Luckily, you know, Vino's got themselves into probably the only normal game at tier 10 over the last week, although that might be a slight exaggeration. And I think that this is a much more realistic idea of what the matchmaker will become like eventually with the DBV-152s. At least until Wargaming release something more powerful, right? But then again, you don't need much to be more powerful in this vehicle. As I said, it has the worst win ratio difference, and its raw win ratio is right in the middle of the pack of all the TDs. And that's because while it does have 800 alpha, while it is able to deliver those shells reliably, and it has all the flexibility of a turret, you kind of need people to tank for you. And Vino's just doing a fantastic job of using their friend here, who died very early on in arguably the best heavy tank, right? And then using their wreck to be able to keep them alive. And that M103, man, they did some serious work for Vino here. And Vino did their role, you know? They were pumping in the shells, pretty much on reload, taking some chances, but not taking stupid, reckless decisions. And Vino's going to make a little bit of an unlucky bounce there. In that kind of a situation as well, the AP shell would be better, because I believe the Object 257 has 45mm of lower hull armor, and the AP shell would be able to overmatch that. But, you know, when you're only now 17 damage shy of doing TD8 a huge caliber, which looks like Vino's trying to do to be able to get the TD8 mission done, yeah, do they really care? Might even want to load an HE shell there, but to just be able to get that mission done But would that lose the game? Possibly. Vino doesn't want to do like 80 damage and just limp. They want to crush this game and have an absolutely huge result for their brand new Czechoslovakian tank destroyer. So does this mean, do you think Wargaming are going to eventually have a Czech tank destroyer line inside the game, or do you think that this was just like, it'd be a little bit of fun? For a lot of people, it must be quite annoying to not have a crew for this tank at all. Maybe that's one of the reasons why quite a few of the DBVs aren't doing particularly wonderfully. But for every DBV that doesn't have a good crew, there'll be a DBV like Vino who's probably got the TVP 100, as they do look like they're a bit of a power player here, have pumped up a good crew in that, and now are unleashing it at tier 10. So Vino's in a bit of a tricky situation here. They're teamed down by 2 tanks. The Hori comes around the corner, but get a turret, noob, shouts Vino as they shut down possibly one of the most dangerous TDs in the game, the Hori 3, putting their damage total up to now to 10,000. And what we're seeing here is this tank isn't just a sniper, even though Vino has set it up that way with having the aiming device there instead of the vents, which would, if you put good vents in, that would still do half the accuracy, but also improve all of the other aspects, including the rate of fire by like about 3% up to 4% if you're using some premium bond ventilation there. Oh, that bat chat, wrong place, wrong time. And man, Vino is just doing some absolute work, but surely the enemies are going to push around the corner. Why don't they? Why don't they come and kill Vino right now? That's exactly what they should do. It's probably because they got in a crossfire with a Skoda. So Vino just in the right place, right time. Unfortunately takes a little bit of a shell there from the 257. But you know what? That was the last chance in this game for them to really get a huge amount of damage as they club through the 257's armor and puts their damage total up to 11,500. I mean, round of applause for Vino here. 11,500 damage in a position which did look like an absolute disaster for them. All right. But you know what? If you want to do a good amount of damage in this vehicle, I think playing aggressively and going and supporting the heavies has to be your best bet in an alleyway like this. Look at this. And it's interesting to see that power players take vehicles that are traditionally, you know, more suited to sniping from locations up here, which is really hit and miss inside World of Tanks, and instead turn them into devastating support tank destroyers. And while I do think that the enemy were clowning around a little bit here by not just pushing the low damage per minute DBV 152 and just removing it from the game while they still had hit points, you know what? You find yourself in those scenarios and you make what you can of them. DBV 152 showing you why these high alpha damage tanks are ruining people's fun right now. But again, let me clarify 100% here that this vehicle, it's not overpowered. If we're looking at win ratio difference, it's below the FV4005, but maybe players will get better in it. If we're looking at the raw win ratio as well, it's right in the middle of the pack, not doing particularly well. And I think it's probably going to stay there, if not drop a little bit more as the more sweaty players finish with the vehicle and move on to going and 3-marking something else. The real question that Wargaming have to ask is, with the assembly shop and how it affects the matchmaker so much, how are they going to be able to fix that issue for the future? Because undoubtedly, I'd say the matchmaker has been about as bad as it could possibly be at tier 10 over the last week. And while this is a short-term change, I wonder if they could manage to figure out a way of lessering the impact of releasing 100,000 vehicles at tier 10 into the matchmaker. Because in only a week, this vehicle has been played 1.35 million times. And you know, by the end of the first 30 days this vehicle has been out, it is going to be by far the most played tank. So Vino, congratulations to you on having just an epic monster game so early on into this vehicle's release. 11,500 damage, 4 kills, 5 times what anyone else on your team was able to achieve, and you made a decent profit as well. A dream game for a dream scenario for a dreamy turreted, what's meant to be a sniping tank destroyer, but clearly as skilled players like Vino show, it doesn't have to be played that way. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was it for today. Really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And a quick reminder that if any of you want to be featured on the YouTube channel, upload your replays on QuickyBaby.what record.com for a chance for YouTube glory. And if you're watching this video as it's released on Friday for the final day of February, I'm going live all day on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby with brand new drops. So come and get yourself 5 premium consumables and 3 hours of experience and free experience and crew training boosting that you can enjoy this weekend. So really looking forward to seeing you all live. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.